Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. The white silk of my wedding dress felt like chains around my body as I stood frozen at the altar. 150 pairs of eyes burned into my soul. The church that had been filled with joy and anticipation moments before now echoed with shocked gasps and whispered prayers. "I cannot do this, Renee." Terrence's voice cut through the sacred silence like a blade through my heart. "You know I told you no makeup on our wedding day. Why would you paint your face like this?" The bouquet of white roses trembled in my hands as I stared at the man I had loved for 3 years. The man who was supposed to become my husband in 5 minutes. His dark eyes, once full of warmth, held only cold disgust. "Terrence, please," I whispered. "It is just a little foundation and—" "No," he stepped back, his tuxedo pristine while my world crumbled. A woman who cannot respect her future husband's wishes on their wedding day cannot be trusted in marriage. "This wedding is off." The cathedral erupted. My mother screamed. My sister Brianna's chair scraped the marble as she jumped up. My uncle Leonard's deep voice boomed from the front pew, but I could not make out his words over the ringing in my ears. Terrence turned his back and walked down the aisle, his groomsmen following like a procession of betrayal. The massive wooden doors of St. Mary's Cathedral in Chicago slammed shut behind them with a sound that would haunt my dreams. I stood there in my $1,000 dress, my grandmother's veil feeling like a funeral shroud. The makeup he hated so much ran down my cheeks in black streams. But 30 minutes later, those same doors would burst open. Terrence would run down the aisle on his knees, begging me to forgive him, to marry him, to save him from the consequences of his cruelty. By then, it would be too late for all of us. My name is Renee Carter, and I used to believe in fairy tales. 3 years earlier, I was a 24-year-old marketing coordinator living in a small apartment downtown, dreaming of the perfect wedding, the perfect husband, the perfect life. I had shoulder-length brown hair that caught the light just right, green eyes my mother said sparkled like emeralds, and an optimism that would nearly destroy me. I met Terrence Robinson at a coffee shop on Elm Street on a rainy Tuesday in October. He was tall, with dark hair and a smile that made you forget your own name. He bumped me, spilled coffee on my white blouse, apologized so sincerely that I laughed instead of crying. He bought me another coffee and we talked for 3 hours. He was 28, worked construction, and had moved to Chicago for a fresh start. He asked for my number with hands that shook, and I gave it to him with hands that shook more. Our first date was a dream: Italian dinner, a walk through the park under a clear sky, and a goodnight kiss that made my knees weak. Terrence was attentive, romantic, protective. The protective part started small. He would suggest I wear something more appropriate when we went out, saying he did not like other men staring. He preferred I dress more modestly. "You are beautiful," he would whisper. "I want to keep you all to myself." 6 months in, I brought him to Sunday dinner. My parents, Reginald and Margaret Carter, lived in the house where I grew up. My father was a quiet mechanic with grease-stained hands and a heart full of love. My mother was a part-time nurse with gentle hands and fierce loyalty. My younger sister, Brianna, 20 then, studied education. Her spirit was twice as fierce as mine. And there was Uncle Leonard, my father's older brother, who owned 3 restaurants in the city. He paid for my college when money was tight and once promised to walk me down the aisle if anything ever happened to my father. Terrence arrived in a cheap borrowed suit, hair slicked back, smile humble and nervous. He complimented my mother's pot roast. When Uncle Leonard mentioned he needed reliable workers at his newest restaurant, Terrence's eyes lit up. "I would be honored to work for you, sir," he said. "You will not regret it." Uncle Leonard studied him, then smiled. "Anyone Renee brings home must be good people. See me Monday." That night, Terrence kissed me harder than he ever had. "Your uncle is a good man," he said. "I cannot wait to be part of your family." I should have seen the calculation in his eyes, how quickly he shifted from nervous suitor to confident insider. But I was in love, and love made me blind. 2 years passed in what I thought was happiness. Terrence rose from busser to assistant manager at one of Uncle Leonard's restaurants. He moved into a nicer apartment, bought better clothes, gave me better gifts. But he grew more controlling. He disliked my friends, saying they were bad influences. He preferred I spend my time with him or my family. One by one, my friendships faded. He had opinions about everything. My hair should be longer. My clothes more conservative. My job. I should quit and let him take care of me. Even my makeup. Real wives do not need artificial beauty, he would say, wiping off my lipstick. I want the real you. I stopped wearing much makeup at all. I grew out my hair. I bought clothes that covered me. I told myself it was love and compromise. He proposed on Valentine's Day at the same Italian restaurant where we had our first date. He knelt with a diamond ring that must have cost months of salary. "Renee Carter," he said, his voice carrying. "You make me whole. Will you marry me?" I said yes. The restaurant applauded. I called my mother in tears. Uncle Leonard was proud. He insisted on paying for the wedding. He booked St. Mary's Cathedral and gave us a generous budget. "Shower her with the celebration she deserves," he said, eyes shining. Terrence hugged him with a grateful smile that did not reach his eyes. Wedding planning consumed my year. I pored over magazines, vision boards, vendor websites. Terrence let me handle most decisions as long as I ran them by him. "Whatever makes you happy," he would say, "as long as you remember, no makeup on our wedding day." I laughed at first. Every bride wears makeup. "Not my bride," he said, his voice firm. "Promise me." Something cold settled in my stomach, but I pushed it away and promised. Red flags multiplied. Terrence disappeared for hours, claiming late nights at the restaurant. When I called to surprise him with dinner, Uncle Leonard often told me Terrence had left early for wedding errands. Terrence became more critical of my laughter, my dresses, even my ideas about work after marriage. "We must present a unified front," he said. "You need to follow my lead." Brianna tried to talk to me. "Something is not right," she said as we addressed invitations. "He is controlling." "He is protective," I insisted. "Love does not isolate you," she said softly. "When was the last time you made a decision without checking with him?" I opened my mouth and realized I could not remember. I pushed the thought aside and kept planning. 2 weeks before the wedding, I saw Terrence's car parked outside a modest apartment complex across town. I watched from across the street as he emerged with a tall blonde woman whose beauty was sharp and predatory. She kissed his cheek. He said something that made her laugh. When I confronted him, he said, "That was Candace, an old friend I am helping move. She is like a sister." I swallowed my doubts and let him kiss them away. Candace was my cousin. On the gray, drizzly morning of my wedding, I woke in my childhood bedroom surrounded by my bridesmaids, Brianna and 2 college friends who stuck with me despite Terrence's subtle discouragement. My dress hung on the closet door, a vision of white silk and lace. My grandmother's veil lay on the dresser. My father had passed away from a heart attack the year before. Uncle Leonard would walk me down the aisle. "Time for makeup," Brianna said, opening her bag. I froze. Terrence does not want me to wear any. The room fell silent. He wants the real me. Even as I said it, the words rang hollow. "Just a little," I whispered. "Something natural." Brianna worked quickly. Light foundation, concealer, a hint of blush, mascara, and a soft pink lipstick. When she finished, I looked like myself, simply rested and luminous. The cathedral took my breath away. White roses and baby's breath lining the aisle, candles flickering, soft organ music filling the vaulted space. 150 guests filled the pews. The organist began, "Here Comes the Bride." Uncle Leonard offered me his arm. I walked toward Terrence, who looked handsome and perfect, until he saw my face. Anticipation turned to shock, then to fury. "I cannot do this, Renee," he said, voice ringing. "You deceived me." The organ fell silent. Someone screamed. He turned and stalked away. The heavy doors slammed. Whispers cut me open. "We need to get you out," Brianna urged. "No," I said. "I need to understand." Uncle Leonard was beside me, red with anger. He made the biggest mistake of his life. My mother reached me in tears. Pity swelled around us. Shame heated my skin. Yet something steady rose inside me. I turned to face the congregation. "I apologize that you came for a wedding and witnessed a humiliation. I wore a little foundation because I wanted to look beautiful on what was supposed to be the most important day of my life. If that makes me unworthy of love to Terrence Robinson, then he never deserved me." I took a breath. "The reception at the Grand Hotel is paid for. Please go and celebrate that I will not bind myself to a man who would abandon me over something so trivial." The doors burst open. Terrence stood there, tuxedo disheveled, hair wild, face stricken. He ran down the aisle and fell to his knees. "Please forgive me. Marry me." I was scared. "You are beautiful with or without makeup. Please." "Stand up," I said. "Explain why you left and why you came back." He opened his mouth, but a woman's heels struck the marble like gunshots. Candace stormed down the aisle. She was tall, blonde, and furious, and something about her face tore at my memory. "What do you think you are doing?" she screamed at Terrence. "You said you were done with her. You said you were coming to get me so we could start our life together." Gasps rippled through the pews. Uncle Leonard made a strangled sound. "Candace Clark," he whispered. Recognition flashed in her eyes. "Hello, Uncle Leonard," she said coolly. My breath caught. "You are my cousin," I said. "Surprise," Candace sneered. "I am also the woman Terrence has been seeing for 6 months." "Is it true?" I asked Terrence. He crumpled. "Yes, but it does not matter now. I choose you." Candace laughed. "He told me 20 minutes ago how glad he was to be free of you. He said we could stop sneaking around." I looked at Terrence. "Why did you come back?" His face drained. "Tell her," Candace snapped. "Tell her why you came crawling back." "Your uncle fired him," Candace spat when Terrence said nothing. "The second he left the cathedral, Leonard Carter called the restaurant. Terrence is done. Not as an employee, not as a customer. And that apartment? Your uncle owns the building. And the car? Company car." I turned to Uncle Leonard. He nodded, jaw tight. I faced Terrence. "When you walked out on me, you walked out on everything. Your job, your home, your car. Without me, you have nothing." The fight went out of him. He looked small and tired. "I am pregnant," Candace said, her hand on her belly. Silence fell like a curtain. The world tilted. "How long have you known?" I asked. 2 weeks, she said. "He wanted out. He was desperate to make it look like your fault." Makeup made an easy excuse. I saw the plan clearly. Leave me, keep the benefits, keep Candace, blame me. And when he lost the benefits, he ran back. "Get out," I said, voice quiet but carrying. Terrence reached for my hand. "People make mistakes. A mistake is forgetting milk," I said. "This is betrayal." Candace lifted her chin. "At least I am not pathetic enough to take him back." "You are both welcome to each other," I said. "You can raise your child together, and remember your relationship began with lies." I walked down the aisle with Uncle Leonard and Brianna at my sides. "Do not follow me," I called over my shoulder. "Do not call. Do not text. We are finished." Outside, the drizzle matched my mood. Guests loitered uncertainly. "Let us go to the reception," I said. Uncle Leonard paid for it. People should enjoy the food and the music. The Grand Hotel ballroom glowed, white roses and silver accents, a dance floor that would never hold our first dance. About 60 people came, family and close friends mostly. I stood at the head table where Terrence and I would have sat and lifted a microphone the disc jockey handed me. "Thank you for coming," I said. "There will be no wedding today. Terrence has chosen my cousin Candace, who is carrying his child. I am not heartbroken. I am grateful to have learned the truth before I signed a contract I could not escape, and grateful for the people who truly love me." I raised a glass. "Let us eat the food, dance to the music, and celebrate that I am free to find a man who deserves me." The applause was thunderous. The party became something else, a bomb. I danced with Uncle Leonard, with my cousins, with old family friends. I laughed until my sides hurt and ate cake that was supposed to have little figures of Terrence and me on top. Then Terrence's mother arrived. Mrs. Robinson was small and fierce, her navy dress immaculate despite a long trip. I feared her blame, but she pulled me into a tight hug. "I am so sorry," she whispered. "I am ashamed of what my son did." Tears shimmered in her eyes. "You are too good for him. Please do not take him back." I promised I would not. Candace stormed in later, mascara running, demanding to know where I was. "You think you are better than me," she shouted. "He never loved you." "If he never loved me," I asked calmly, "why did he beg for 30 minutes? Mrs. Robinson stepped forward and, shaking with anger, told Candace to stay away from her family. Candace fled. 3 days later, I sat in Uncle Leonard's office while he made calls that changed Terrence and Candace's lives. "Yes, there is a morals clause in the lease," he told a property manager. "Section 12. They will be out by the end of the week." He also called business owners across the city. Word spread quickly about Terrence's behavior. The apartment eviction was only the beginning. The company car was repossessed. Credit cards obtained on Uncle Leonard's reference were canceled. Even the gym membership was terminated. Terrence had built his life on our family's trust. Now he learned what his life looked like without it. The local newspaper ran a feature. "Local bride stands strong after wedding day betrayal." Jenna Collins, a human interest reporter who had been a guest, interviewed me, several of Terrence's former co-workers, and, astonishingly, Candace. Co-workers recalled Terrence bragging that he would marry up, that I was easy to manipulate, that he had the best of both worlds. Candace declared they were in love and that the baby had been planned, which contradicted Terrence's claims elsewhere. The article painted him as calculating and emotionally abusive, and me as someone who chose dignity in a devastating moment. Support poured in. Flowers, cards, job offers. Terrence and Candace became pariahs. Restaurants refused to serve them. Stores found reasons not to help. The few friends they had left drifted away. I saw them once at the grocery store. Terrence hurried over, leaving Candace and their cart. "Please," he whispered, "give me another chance. I will do anything." "Leave town," I said. "Take Candace and your baby and disappear from my life." He grabbed my arm. "You are destroying my life." "You destroyed it yourself," I said, loud enough for everyone around us to hear. Love does not humiliate, cheat, or create a child with someone else while planning a wedding. What you felt was possession. I will not be possessed. He let go. I walked away. 2 weeks later, Candace showed up at my apartment, drunk and wild-eyed. She pushed past me and knocked my phone under the couch. "You ruined us," she raged. "You turned the city against us." "I told the truth," I said. "If the truth ruined you, you should have made better choices." She swayed, then confessed that Terrence barely spoke to her, that he blamed her for telling me about the pregnancy. Money was gone. She was having complications. She was scared. For the first time, I felt a flicker of pity. "You could have had us," I said gently. "If you had come honestly as family, Uncle Leonard would have helped you. We all would have." She sank onto my couch and cried. "I thought you would fight for him," she whispered. "I was strong enough to walk away," I said. "I can forgive you, but I cannot fix this. You and Terrence must live with your choices. Together or apart, that is up to you. I will not be part of your lives." She nodded, wiped her eyes, and left. I did not see them again. Through the quiet network of gossip, I learned they left Chicago a month later. Uncle Leonard hired a private investigator, not for revenge, but to make sure the baby was all right. The investigator found them in Denver. Candace lost the baby in her second trimester. Terrence abandoned her soon after. She worked as a waitress, struggling to pay rent. Uncle Leonard sent money anonymously to help her start over. Terrence resurfaced in Arizona, working construction under a false name, telling people a story about a wife who had cheated and taken everything. Even far from Chicago, he could not face the truth about himself. My healing took time. I woke at night reliving the altar, the whispers, the slam of the doors. I started seeing a therapist, Dr. Susan, who helped me understand that what I had experienced was not just heartbreak. It was trauma, emotional abuse, manipulation, and public humiliation. She reminded me it would take time to trust again, including trusting my own judgment. I rebuilt slowly. I took larger marketing projects and eventually started my own consulting firm. Uncle Leonard became my first major client as he expanded into catering and events. Working with him reminded me daily that honorable men exist and keep their promises. Brianna became my closest confidant. She graduated, began teaching 3rd grade, and coached the school drama club. We met for lunch, shopped, or simply sat and talked. "You are stronger," she said one evening on my balcony. "Stronger and a little sadder." "I feel like I lost more than Terrence," I said. "I lost my belief in happily ever after." "Maybe honest love is better than fairy tales," she said. The turning point came 8 months after the non-wedding, at Uncle Leonard's annual holiday party at his newest restaurant. I almost did not go, crowds still made me anxious, but he arrived at my apartment and offered his arm. "You have hidden long enough," he said. "It is time to show everyone that you are thriving." The restaurant glowed with soft lighting over exposed brick. About 100 people mingled. A tall man with kind brown eyes and prematurely gray hair approached. "Excuse me," he said. "Are you Renee Carter?" My stomach tightened, prepared for questions about old wounds. "Yes," I said carefully. "I am Caleb Murphy, the new head chef at Bella Vista," he said, extending his hand. "Your uncle speaks highly of you. I hope we can talk. I have a business proposition." We talked for an hour about his plans to open his own restaurant, his background, his vision for a place that served extraordinary food and supported local farmers. He never once mentioned the wedding. He talked to me like I was a capable businesswoman. "Would you meet next week to discuss branding and promotion?" he asked. "I would," I said, and meant it. Lunch led to a partnership, which became a friendship, which became something more. Caleb was everything Terrence was not: honest, supportive, secure. He knew my story because everyone did, but he never treated me as if I were broken. "You could have let it destroy you," he said one evening as we walked through the park where I once believed in fairy tales. "Instead, you became stronger." "Some days I do not feel courageous," I admitted. "Courage is being afraid and going forward anyway," he said, taking my hand. "And you have that." We married 2 years later in a small ceremony at Uncle Leonard's house, surrounded by 30 people who truly loved us. I wore a simple cream dress with no veil. Caleb wore a navy suit. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, I held my breath. Not because I expected an interruption, but because I finally believed I deserved happiness. No one objected. We exchanged vows we wrote ourselves, promising honesty, support, and respect. We danced later at the restaurant to At Last by Etta James, and I cried happy tears. 3 years later, Caleb and I have a beautiful 18-month-old daughter named Grace, and we are expecting our second child in the fall. Our restaurant, Harvest, is one of the most popular places in the city, known for farm-to-table cuisine and a warm, welcoming atmosphere. I still run my consulting firm, though I work fewer hours now. Uncle Leonard remains one of my biggest clients and the most devoted honorary grandfather to Grace. Brianna married her longtime boyfriend last year, and they are trying to start a family. She loves teaching and running the drama club, helping shy children find their voices. My mother delights in her role as grandmother: homemade cookies, elaborate tea parties, and a new companion from her church who treats her the way she deserves. Sometimes people ask if I wonder what happened to Terrence and Candace, if I regret how firmly I shut the door, if I wish I had been more forgiving. The truth is I rarely think about them. They were characters in one chapter, a painful but necessary chapter that taught me what I needed to learn. I learned that love without respect is worthless. I learned that a man who truly loves you will never try to control you. I learned that public humiliation cannot destroy you unless you let it. And I learned that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the catalyst for becoming the person you were meant to be. My name is Renee Carter Murphy now. I believe in love again, real love, honest love, the kind that makes you stronger instead of smaller. And that is enough. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.